Hello, MPS. It's your girl, Bernice Washington, aka Wellness Queen. And this week, as we continue the overall month's messaging of, what are mental health supports and how do we identify them, this week we are talking about how we overcome stigma. So stick around while we address stigma and how we move past it. Before we kind of get into how we address stigmas, I think it's important to first define what a stigma is, which is ultimately a negative belief or attitude towards something. So when we think of mental health, it's kind of like if you are someone who seeks mental health support, whether that's through a therapist or a coach, sometimes the stigma is you are quote unquote crazy, right? Because sane people or emotionally healthy people would never need therapy or mental health support, which is not true, right? Another stigma associated with mental health is that you're either depressed, super depressed, or you're thinking of harming yourself, when in actuality, you could go to therapy or get mental health support to process events, to reflect on something that happened, or to literally just have a space that's dedicated to you to kind of get your thoughts out and put it all out there to organize. And then once again, if we kind of add in a different layer, depending on your identity, right? Those who are marginalized, there's a lot of stigma attached to that. For people of color, the stigma may be, you appear weak if you seek supports from other people. If you are a man, there could sometimes be this belief that men don't seek support for mental health because they don't need support for their mental health. They just need to kind of bend and grin through it, which in the reality of it is we all need support. We have varying levels, but everybody deserves support. When it comes to these stigmas, we've defined them, we've talked about ways that they can show up, but let's talk about ways we could address them. The first one, especially in the workplace, normalize discussing your mental health in the workplace, which doesn't mean necessarily, falling apart at work consistently, right? That's not the hope we want for you, but it does mean being vocal about what your needs are and letting your colleagues in your administration or people know that you are in need of support. We deserve to be normalizing that because we're human, right? Additionally, giving yourself grace. You've never lived this life before. And so if you are coming up on mistakes or finding ways that you need to pivot, but also be nice to yourself as you navigate. And additionally, if nothing else, being able to identify what mental health supports you may need, right? That might look like coming, and chatting with me and figuring out what are your options. That could look like looking through Spring Health to see what are your options, but also it could look like checking back in with your support system and evaluating and assessing, do you need more supports or do I need to just be using them in better ways, right? So the stigma is real, but also so is the help and support on the other side of things. So please do not allow stigmas to get in the way of you getting your mental health support. If nothing else, let this be a reminder of that. Thank you.